John Miller stood alone before the Galactic Council, his back straight, and his face calm despite the nervous sweat under his formal suit. The council chamber stretched in a wide circle around him, with 27 raised platforms, each holding a representative of a different alien species. Their eyes, some glowing, some multifaceted, some barely visible, all focused on the human ambassador. "The Council has reviewed humanity's application for membership," said Thorful, the Vendic representative whose blue-gray skin shimmered under the chamber lights. "We find your species unsuitable for integration into galactic society." John blinked, caught off guard. This wasn't how first contact was supposed to go. After decades of searching the stars, humanity had finally received signals from the Council 3 years ago. The preparation, the cautious exchanges, the shared scientific knowledge, all seemed to point toward acceptance. "May I ask on what grounds?" John kept his voice steady, though his heart pounded in his chest. A tall, thin alien with 4 arms gestured with its upper limbs. "Your species shows dangerous unpredictability. Your history is marked by constant warfare. Your genetic makeup reveals evolutionary aggression, uncommon among civilized species." "With respect," John said, stepping forward, "humanity has overcome those challenges. We've united our planet. We've eliminated most poverty and disease. You've done so only recently," interrupted another council member, this one resembling a large insect with gleaming compound eyes. 200 years ago, you were killing each other by the millions. This is but an eye blink in evolutionary terms." John looked around the chamber, trying to find any sympathetic face among the aliens. "All species have violent pasts. We learn from our mistakes. We grow. We have observed your kind closely," Thorful said. "You adapt too quickly. You innovate in ways that disturb established order. Your minds work differently. You embrace risk, seek change, question authority. These traits make you unpredictable and dangerous." For 3 hours, John argued his case. He shared stories of human compassion, displayed evidence of Earth's peaceful achievements, quoted from humanity's greatest philosophers. Some council members seemed to waver, but whenever momentum shifted in his favor, the elder races, particularly the Vendic, steered the discussion back to humanity's fundamental flaws. When the final vote came, it was decisive. 22 against, 5 abstaining, none in favor. "The judgment of this council is as follows," Thorful announced, rising to his full height. "Humanity will be confined to their home solar system until such time as evolutionary and cultural changes render them suitable for galactic citizenship." John felt his face grow hot. "And how long might that be?" "Perhaps 10,000 years," replied Thorful without hesitation. "Perhaps never." "You can't just fence us in," John protested. "We have the right to explore." "You have no rights under council law," the Vendic cut him off. "Violation of this quarantine will result in immediate military response. For your own protection and the safety of galactic civilization, a blockade will be established. All council races are forbidden from contact with humans." As John was escorted from the chamber, he noticed a few of the aliens watching him with what seemed like regret, or perhaps fear, not of humans, but of their own leadership. Back on his ship, John stared at the enormous council station through the viewport. Around it, hundreds of alien vessels prepared to establish the blockade that would isolate Earth from the rest of the galaxy. "Set course for home," he told his pilot quietly. "What do we tell everyone?" asked his aide Maria. "They're expecting good news." John's jaw tightened as he watched the alien ships. "We tell them the truth. The Council fears what they don't understand. They've judged us too dangerous to join their perfect little community." He turned away from the viewport, his eyes reflecting a new determination. "But they've made a critical mistake." "What's that?" Maria asked. "They've given us a challenge," John said, "and nothing motivates humans more." As Earth disappeared into the distance behind their ship, John Miller made a silent promise. Humanity would not be contained, not for 10,000 years, Not even for 100. Kate Summers looked out the window of her office at the busy streets of New Geneva. 30 years had passed since the Galactic Council had confined humanity to the solar system. As director of the United Earth government, she had watched her people change from angry and defeated to focused and determined. The latest reports from Mars Colony, Director, said her assistant, placing a tablet on her desk. Kate nodded and picked it up. The screen showed production numbers from the massive underground factories that had been built beneath the red planet's surface. Anyone watching from orbit would see only mining operations, exactly what the Council's monitoring satellites had observed for 3 decades. Production is ahead of schedule, she noted. Dr. Wright's team has good news too. Yes, her assistant agreed. The quantum folding technology is finally stable. Kate allowed herself a small smile. When the Council ships had left after establishing their blockade, humanity had faced a choice: accept their prison or find a way to break free. They had chosen the latter, but with patience and careful planning. "Is Olivia here yet?" Kate asked. "General Clark is waiting in the conference room." Kate walked down the hallway, passing walls lined with screens showing activity across the solar system. Construction ships orbited Jupiter's moons, harvesting gases and minerals. Near Neptune, testing grounds for new propulsion systems operated day and night. On Earth itself, universities had shifted focus to technologies the Council races had never explored. In the conference room, Olivia Clark stood before a large holographic display showing ship designs. Director Summers, Olivia greeted her. At 63, the general still stood straight as a rod, her gray hair cut short and practical. "How are the combat simulations going?" Kate asked. Olivia pressed a button, and the display changed to show battle formations. "We've been studying Council tactical patterns for 30 years. They're predictable. Their ships are powerful, but slow to adapt to new situations. And our approach? Unpredictability," Olivia said with satisfaction. "The very thing they fear in us will be our greatest weapon. Small, fast ships that hit from unexpected vectors. Tactics that change mid-battle. Warriors trained to think independently rather than follow rigid protocols." Kate nodded, and all hidden from their eyes. The next day, Kate traveled to the Armstrong Research Facility on the far side of the moon, completely shielded from Earth and any watching Council ships. Here, away from prying eyes, humanity's most important work happened. Dr. Alan Wright met her in the main laboratory. His excited smile told her the news before he spoke. "We did it," he said. "We can bend space-time in ways they never imagined possible." He led her to a testing chamber where a small metal sphere sat on a platform. "Watch," he said, pressing a sequence on his control panel. The sphere shimmered and vanished. A monitor showed it reappearing in another chamber 50 meters away. "No conventional energy signature," Dr. Wright explained. "No radiation, no subspace ripples, nothing they can detect with their sensors." "How far can you send objects?" Kate asked. "Currently, across the solar system. With refinement, we believe we can reach nearby stars." Kate touched the sphere gently after it was returned to the first chamber. "And larger objects. A ship the size of a frigate, maybe. We're working on scaling up." Later that evening, Kate met with her inner council, the 12 leaders who guided humanity's secret preparations. They gathered in a secure room deep beneath the Alps, safe from surveillance. "We're nearly ready," she told them. "For 30 years, we've seemed to accept our fate. We've let them think us contained and harmless." "When do we make our move?" asked one of the council members. Kate looked at each face around the table. "Not yet. Patience has served us well. We watch, we learn, and we prepare. The council believes they've seen our limits." She touched a button, and the room filled with holographic star maps showing systems far beyond Sol. "They have no idea what humanity is capable of," she said softly. "And when they find out, it will be too late to stop us." Peter Jones wiped sweat from his forehead as he made final adjustments to the engine. After 15 years of work, The Phantom Drive was ready for its first real test. The laboratory deep under Europa's ice was silent except for the soft hum of equipment. "System check complete," said his assistant. "All readings are green." Peter nodded and stepped back to look at his creation. The drive was smaller than anyone had expected. Council races built massive hyperdrives that tore holes in space. The Phantom Drive was different. It slipped between the fabric of reality like a needle through cloth, leaving no trace. "Alert Commander Green," Peter said. "Tell him we're ready." 3 days later, Nicholas Green walked along the hull of the UES Spectre. The ship was built entirely in secret facilities orbiting Neptune, far from Council monitoring stations. It was sleek and dark, designed to absorb rather than reflect energy. No exterior lights, no visible weapons, nothing that would announce its presence. "She's beautiful," Nicholas said to the shipyard manager walking beside him, "and invisible to any known sensors." The manager added, "Once the Phantom Drive is installed, you'll be the ghost they never see coming." The loading of the drive was handled with extreme care. Peter Jones supervised every step, checking connections himself. When it was finally in place, he shook Nicholas's hand. 32 years we've waited," Peter said. "Make it count." The launch was scheduled during a solar flare, giving additional cover from any watching eyes. The small crew of 20 boarded the ship without ceremony. These were Earth's best: scientists, pilots, and soldiers, all volunteers for a mission that might mean one-way exile if they were caught. Nicholas took his place in the captain's chair. All stations report. One by one, his crew confirmed their readiness. The ship hummed to life around them. "Phantom Drive engaged," the engineer reported. There was no dramatic flash, no sense of movement. Only the changing numbers on their screens showed they were moving, slipping past the Council blockade ships without a trace. "We're clear," the navigator announced. No sign they detected us. For the first time in 3 decades, a human ship was traveling beyond Sol. Nicholas felt the weight of the moment. "Set course for the Proxima system," he ordered. Over the next 3 months, the Spectre traveled where no human had gone before. They mapped hyperspace routes the Council used, studied defense systems, and observed alien worlds from hiding. What they found surprised them all. "They've barely advanced in 30 years, Nicholas told his crew during a briefing. "The Council races argue constantly. The elder species hoard technology from younger ones. They're stagnant." The science officer nodded. "Their hyperdrives are the same models from when they contacted Earth. Their weapons, too. They don't innovate." "And the border regions?" Nicholas asked. "Minimal patrols. Dozens of resource-rich systems sit untouched because they're not on established hyperspace routes." Nicholas leaned forward. "Show me." The holographic display revealed stars beyond Council space, places the aliens never visited because their rigid thinking kept them on the same paths generation after generation. "Perfect hiding places," the tactical officer said. "We could build there for years without discovery." Before returning to Earth, the Spectre made one final discovery. Beyond Council territory, they detected unusual energy readings. Another civilization, previously unknown, was moving outward. Their ships looked built for war. "The Council doesn't know about them yet," Nicholas said, studying the sensor data. "They're focused inward, not watching their borders." When the Spectre finally returned to Sol, Nicholas carried star charts, technical data, and a warning. Humanity had breathing room to expand, but they weren't alone in the darkness. Director Summers reviewed their findings with Earth's Leadership Council. "How soon can we begin moving beyond our system?" she asked. Nicholas pointed to several star systems on the map. "Immediately. The Phantom Drive works better than expected. We can establish outposts here, and here without detection." "And construction facilities?" asked a council member. "With automated systems, we could have the first colony operational within 18 months. Kate Summers looked at the tired but proud faces around her. "Then it's time. Operation Exodus begins now. Susan Brown stepped out of the transport ship onto the surface of the moon called Haven. Above her, the gas giant Rhea filled half the sky with swirling blue storms. She took a deep breath through her mask. This moon, 20 light years from Earth, was now home. "The entrance to the colony is this way," said her guide, pointing to what looked like a simple mining operation on the side of a hill. Susan followed him through heavy doors that slid shut behind them. Inside, the narrow tunnel quickly opened into a vast underground chamber. Susan gasped. An entire city stretched before her, built completely beneath the surface. Thousands of people moved through wide streets. Greenhouses filled with plants lined the walls. Above, light panels mimicked the warm glow of Earth's sun. "Welcome to Haven," the guide said. Population 12,000 and growing every month. 10 years had passed since the UES Spectre's first journey beyond Sol. In that time, humanity had established 11 hidden colonies on worlds carefully chosen to avoid Council attention. Haven was the largest, the unofficial capital of humanity's shadow empire. Susan's job as colony administrator was to manage Haven's growth while maintaining absolute secrecy. No radio signals could escape. No ships could approach or leave without strict stealth protocols. Nothing could alert the Council to their presence. "The manufacturing center is our pride," her guide continued as they boarded a small transport cart. "You'll want to see it first." The cart took them through tunnels to another massive chamber. Here, automated machines worked tirelessly, building everything from medical equipment to ship components. Susan watched as robotic arms assembled the Phantom Drive Core, the technology that had made all this possible. Frank Rogers, the chief engineer, met her at the entrance to the facility. His hands were stained with grease, and his eyes showed the weariness of someone who worked too many hours. "The new fabrication units are operating at 120% of projected capacity," he told her. "We can build a Corvette-class ship in 12 days now. Larger vessels take longer, but we're improving the process." Susan nodded. "How many ships have we completed?" 43 military vessels and over 200 transport and mining ships," Frank replied. "All with Phantom drives, all undetectable by Council technology." Later that day, Susan attended a briefing with Lisa Martinez, who headed intelligence operations from Haven. Lisa's network of agents gathered information from the edges of Council space, using ships disguised as debris or asteroids to monitor communications and movement. "The Council remains ignorant of our expansion," Lisa reported to the room of colony leaders. "Their patrols never venture into the regions we've settled. They believe their blockade around Sol is all they need." "And the other civilization Commander Green discovered?" Susan asked. Lisa brought up a star map. "We've identified them as the Arxer. They're expanding from the galactic north. Highly aggressive, technologically advanced. They've already skirmished with a few outlying Council worlds, but the Council seems to be downplaying the threat." "Typical," someone muttered. After the meeting, Susan walked to the observation deck, a reinforced transparent ceiling that offered a view of Rhea's moons and stars. Children played in a park below the deck, born on Haven, never having seen Earth. They would grow up knowing only this hidden life, at least for now. A message alert sounded on her comm unit. It was from Earth Command, encoded at the highest level. Susan found a private room to read it. The message was brief. "Operation Shadow Network complete. Human agents successfully placed on 27 Council worlds. Phase 3 approved. Begin construction of Defense Fleet. Estimated Council discovery timeline: 5 years." Susan closed the message and gazed out at the stars again. For a decade, humanity had expanded in secret, building strength and resources. The Council believed humans were still confined to Sol, accepting their prison. How shocked they would be to discover the truth. Back in her new office, Susan began drafting orders. Haven would soon transition from a hidden colony to something much more important, the forward base for humanity's return to the galactic stage. Not as supplicants begging for acceptance, but as a power the Council could no longer ignore or contain. "The countdown begins," she whispered to herself. The Zelvan colony world of Nerith burned. From his command ship, Captain Daniel White watched the Arxer fleet bombard the planet. Their ships were black, angular, and moved with surprising speed for their size. 3 days earlier, they had appeared without warning and begun their attack. The Zelvan defenses had crumbled within hours. "Council response ships are still 2 days out," reported his second-in-command. "By then, there won't be anyone left to save." Daniel nodded grimly. The Council, so proud and confident when they had exiled humanity, now couldn't even protect their own. His fleet of 15 warships had been monitoring the Arxer advance for months. This attack wasn't a surprise to them, only to the Council. "Signal the fleet," Daniel ordered. "Battle formation Delta. We move in 5 minutes." Across the bridge, officers exchanged looks of surprise. Their orders had been to observe only, not to engage. "Sir," his second-in-command said quietly, "this will reveal our existence to the Council." Daniel looked at the planet on his view screen. Millions of Zelvans lived there. The same species that had voted to exile humanity 53 years ago. "Some things are more important than secrecy," he said. "Humanity doesn't watch innocent people die when we can help, even if they're not human." Minutes later, the human fleet dropped out of phantom space directly behind the Arxer vessels. Their appearance shocked both attackers and defenders. Human ships had never been seen in this part of space before. Their design was unfamiliar to everyone. Sleek, matte black, with blue energy pulsing along their hulls. "All ships, weapons free," Daniel commanded. "Target Arxer vessels only. Protect the Zelvan civilians." Human vessels moved with impossible speed and coordination. Unlike the rigid formations used by Council races, they shifted constantly, never presenting an easy target. Phantom drives allowed them to make micro-jumps during battle, appearing and disappearing in flashes too quick to track. The Arxer, caught by surprise, struggled to adapt. Their larger ships turned too slowly to track the human vessels. Energy weapons cut through their shields using frequencies they had no defense against. On the planet's surface, Zelvan survivors watched in disbelief as unknown ships fought with bewildering effectiveness against their attackers. Council observers recorded everything, transmitting data back to their leaders. In just under 2 hours, the battle ended. The Arxer fleet retreated, leaving behind 5 destroyed ships and 7 heavily damaged ones. Not a single human vessel was lost, though several had taken damage. "Open a channel to the Zelvan Defense Command," Daniel ordered. On his screen appeared a Zelvan official, their 4 eyes wide with shock. Who are you?" the alien asked. "Captain Daniel White of the Human Defense Force," he replied. "We're sending medical ships to assist your wounded and supplies for your people." The Zelvan's mouth moved silently for a moment before they found words. "Humans, from Earth, but the quarantine has served its purpose," Daniel finished. "We'll discuss details later. For now, let us help your people." 3 days later, when the Council response fleet finally arrived, they found human ships already in orbit around Nerith. Medical teams worked alongside Zelvans in devastated cities. Repair crews rebuilt critical infrastructure. Admiral Mary Johnson met the Council representatives aboard their command ship. She wore the formal blue uniform of the Human Defense Force, her silver hair cut short, her posture straight despite her 60 years. The Council members, representatives from 5 elder races, regarded her with a mixture of shock, anger, and fear. "You have violated the terms of your quarantine," said the Vendic representative, the same species that had led the push for humanity's exile. "Your presence here is illegal under Council law." Mary smiled thinly. "Yet the Zelvans seemed grateful for our illegal presence." "How did you get here?" demanded another Council member. "How did your ships move like that? Where is your fleet based?" "Those are interesting questions," Mary replied. "But first, I have a message from Earth. Humanity has returned to the galactic community, not as supplicants seeking permission, but as equals offering partnership. She activated a small projector that displayed tactical data of the Arxer fleet movements. The Arxer are moving against 12 more Council worlds in this sector. Your forces cannot reach them all in time. Ours can. Mary's eyes met each Council member's gaze. The people who once exiled us now face extinction. We offer our help, despite our history. The choice to accept is yours. Greg Taylor walked through the grand hallway of the Council station with calm steps that hid his inner tension. 6 months had passed since humanity's dramatic return. In that time, the political landscape of the galaxy had changed more than it had in the previous 1,000 years. Today would decide if those changes led to a new future or a new war. Guards from 6 different species lined the walls, watching him with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. As Earth's diplomat, Greg had become the most famous, or infamous, human in Council space. His simple blue uniform stood out among the elaborate robes and ceremonial armor worn by other diplomats. The Council chamber doors opened before him. Unlike the last time a human stood here, when John Miller faced rejection, today the room was packed. Representatives from all 27 Council races attended, along with observers from dozens of colony worlds. In the center of the chamber stood Exiled, much older now, but still the voice of the Vendic, still the leader of the elder races who had pushed for humanity's exile 53 years ago. The human diplomat arrives. Exiled announced, his voice carrying disapproval. Now we may begin. Greg took his place at the speaker's platform and looked around the chamber. He spotted his allies, the representatives from races whose worlds had been saved by human ships over the past 6 months. They nodded slightly to him. The Council has convened this emergency session to address the human violation of quarantine. Exiled began. Their ships move freely through our space. Their agents walk on our worlds. They refuse to return to their designated system despite our demands. A murmur ran through the chamber. Greg waited patiently. The elder races propose immediate sanctions. Exiled continued. All human ships must be seized. All human outposts must be dismantled. Their technology must be surrendered for study. Their leaders must appear before this Council for judgment. Now Greg stepped forward. And how will you enforce these demands? Your ships can't catch ours. Your sensors can't find our bases. Your weapons can't match ours. Gasps and angry mutters filled the room. Challenging the Council so openly was unheard of. We don't say this to threaten. Greg continued more softly, only to state facts. In the 53 years since you exiled us, humanity has grown and developed in ways you never imagined. We did not come back to seek revenge. We came back to help. He activated a holographic display showing Arxer fleet movements. In the past 6 months, human forces have defended 14 Council worlds from Arxer attacks, worlds that would have fallen before your ships could arrive. Ask the Zelvans. Ask the Myth. Ask the Troda whose children still live because we intervened. From the side of the chamber, a representative of the Troda, a smaller, newer Council race, stood up. The humans saved my homeworld when our calls to the Council went unanswered. They asked nothing in return. Other representatives began to stand and speak, one after another. Each told of human ships appearing when hope was lost, of battles won against impossible odds, of generosity shown to former enemies. Exiled's facial colors darkened with anger. The Council has protected galactic civilization for 10,000 years. We cannot allow an unpredictable, aggressive species to disrupt our order. Your order is failing, Greg replied. The Arxer advance while you debate. They don't respect your traditions or your boundaries. Neither time nor tradition will protect you from them. The Zelvan representative moved to the center of the chamber. The elder races fear change. But change has come whether they welcome it or not. My world votes to form a new alliance with humanity. One by one, other representatives joined the Zelvan. First, the newer Council races, then colonies and member worlds. By the end of the day, nearly 40 worlds had declared their intention to break from Council authority and ally with humanity. Thor watched in disbelief as the power structure that had stood for millennia cracked before his eyes. "You would trust these humans," he demanded. "They who build warships in secret. They who violated our most sacred laws." The Zelvin looked at Greg, then back to Exiled. "We would trust those who came to our aid when we needed them most. The Galactic Alliance forms today, with humanity as its foundation. Those who wish to join us may do so freely." Greg left the chamber that evening, stepping into history. The old council still existed, but its power was broken. A new era had begun, one where humanity would help shape the galaxy's future. Supreme Commander Samantha Hill stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship Freedom, watching as the combined fleet assembled. 5 years had passed since the formation of the Galactic Alliance. What had begun with 40 worlds now encompassed over 200 systems, 2/3 of the former Council space. The fleet before her was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships of human design flew alongside vessels from 20 different species. Each brought unique strengths to the Alliance. The Zelvin cruisers with their advanced shields, the Myth fighters with their unmatched speed, the Troda support vessels with healing technology that could repair battle damage in minutes. "All fleet elements report ready," Commander said, her communications officer. Samantha nodded. "Signal the jump. Operation Unity begins now." Across the vast formation, ships vanished in flashes of light as they jumped toward the final Arxer stronghold. This would be the decisive battle in a war that had raged across the galaxy. The Arxer, who had once seemed unstoppable, had been pushed back system by the Alliance forces. Unlike the rigid Council military that had crumbled before the Arxer, the Alliance fought with flexibility and creativity. They adapted tactics mid-battle. They combined technologies in ways never before attempted. They embraced the very unpredictability that the Council had once feared in humans. When the Alliance fleet emerged from jump space, they found the Arxer waiting. The enemy had gathered every remaining ship for this final stand. Over 300 warships arranged in a defensive sphere around their homeworld. "Begin Phase 1, Samantha ordered. Alliance ships moved into formations practiced over months of preparation. The battle that followed lasted 14 hours. Ships clashed across a volume of space larger than a solar system. Weapons fire lit up the darkness as vessels danced through the void. Samantha coordinated it all from the Freedom, making split-second decisions as conditions changed. Unlike Council commanders who followed ancient battle doctrines without variation, she adjusted constantly, surprising both allies and enemies. By the end, the Arxer fleet was destroyed or captured. Their homeworld surrendered unconditionally. The greatest threat the galaxy had faced in 10,000 years had been defeated. As Alliance ships secured the system, Samantha received an urgent message. Ships approaching from Council space, not Arxer, but the remnants of the old Council itself. They're requesting permission to enter Alliance territory, her communications officer reported with surprise. Their worlds are under attack. They're seeking asylum. In the 5 years since the Alliance formed, the old Council had shrunk to just 7 systems controlled by the elder races who refused to join. Now, facing Arxer attacks without Alliance protection, they had no choice but to beg for help from those they once exiled. "Grant them safe passage," Samantha ordered, "and inform Chancellor Harris." 1 week later, Paul Harris, the elected leader of Earth and the entire Galactic Alliance, addressed the newly expanded Galactic Senate on Earth. Representatives from over 200 worlds filled the Grand Chamber built in New Geneva. Among them sat the former Council leaders, now refugees dependent on human generosity. Paul stood at the podium, his gray hair and lined face showing the weight of his responsibilities. Yet his voice was strong as he spoke to the assembled representatives and the trillions watching across the galaxy. "Today marks the end of one chapter in our shared history and the beginning of another," he said. "The Arxer threat is ended. Our alliance has proven that diversity is not a weakness, but our greatest strength." He looked directly at the former Council leaders. 58 years ago, humanity was judged too unpredictable, too adaptive, too different to join the galactic community. Today, those same qualities have saved that community from extinction. Paul activated a holographic display showing the new Alliance Constitution. This document, crafted by 200 species working together, enshrines our fundamental principle. We are stronger together because of our differences, not despite them. The freedom to grow, to change, to question, to innovate. These are not dangers to be contained, but gifts to be celebrated. As the Senate erupted in approval, Paul exchanged glances with the aging John Miller, the ambassador who had once stood alone before an arrogant council. The galaxy had changed beyond recognition. Humanity, once exiled, now led the most powerful empire in known space. Not through conquest, but through cooperation. Not through fear, but through respect. Not through dominance, but through service. The humans had built something far greater than the Council ever imagined possible.